Star Wars is back on the big screen. For all the Star Wars fans out there, or maybe casual viewers, The Mandalorian and Grogu has officially come out today. There were some late night screenings yesterday for the early adopters and those who wanted to go check it out. I went to a screening late last night and I wanted to share my thoughts on the movie with those who are thinking about it or just curious and haven't had a chance to see it yet. Um, I don't plan to spoil anything, so again, if you haven't seen the movie or you're going in kind of blind, don't 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 worry about any spoilers here. There certainly won't be any. Initial thoughts going into the movie, I'd read a lot of reviews or I heard a lot of different things, so I kind of had an idea of what to expect. And in in this day and age where a lot of movies are interconnected to one another or kind of build this cinematic universe, um, I kind of knew this movie was sort of going to be a one-off movie or a very preliminary movie in a process of Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau trying to bring back Star Wars into the mainstream. And at times I felt disappointed that there wasn't more to the movie. But overall I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a fun movie. It was certainly an adventure movie with the Mandalorian and Grogu going on this adventure together and fighting the remnants of the Empire, um, meeting new characters along the way, introducing new characters to the story, and even bringing some characters back from the Clone Wars days, which was really cool to see in live action. It's a fun movie. I think it had some slow points, but I thought it was entertaining. I enjoyed, you know, the dynamic between the Mandalorian and Grogu is certainly a fun dynamic to explore. The father, the father and the adopted son relationship. Also seeing the growth of Grogu, from kind of a helpless child to, almost a character that can not handle their own, but take more care of themselves than we've seen in previous iterations. And of course, the Mandalorian's a badass. Uh, he is a fighter. He's not a quitter. And even when he looks down and out, that guy's always got a trick or two up his sleeve. I liked I liked a lot of the new elements they brought into this movie. Um, John Favreau in a lot of his interviews was talking about the creatures that they implemented into the movie. And we certainly get a fair share of that. And we get to really look at that. And I thought that was really cool stuff. And it certainly made the atmosphere feel more like Star Wars. It was also nice to bring in a handful of legacy characters. And again, some characters that predate all the way back to the Clone Wars, which was a really cool experience and fun to see. If I had to really, I think my biggest thing, and I mentioned it at the start, is I think the plot was lacking, to be honest with you. It was a fun story. It was an adventure of these two characters together along with some other characters, but there wasn't a lot of substance to it. There wasn't a lot of stakes, to be honest, except for the lives of our characters. And um, I think we all sort of imagine that we're not going to lose these two major characters in this film, but there was no overarching stake. Um, there was no sort of setup for another movie or to follow in the process. It really kind of felt like a one-off film, a one-off adventure of these two characters. And you could argue that this could have been sequentialized into a fourth or fifth season of The Mandalorian. And even then, I don't still don't think the plot would have been that great because we weren't really building to anything. It was just more of, kind of experiencing these characters and together in this sort of setting and environment and just kind of going along for the ride. So if you kind of come in with those expectations and just go along for the ride, it's a fun ride. You enjoy it. You get to see a lot of different things. You get to explore it. Um, I think there was one setting in the movie that I really enjoyed that always gets talks about a lot in Star Wars lore and mythos, but we've never seen it in live action. So seeing this setting, this planet in live action, I thought was incredibly cool. Um, because it has so much lore around it. It has so much, it gets mentioned a lot, but we'd never physically seen it. So having it, be on the big screen in front of you was pretty cool. And I thought they did a really good job at organizing it and bringing it in together. But again, it's just slightly upsetting because I think this movie could have been a lot more. And it felt like they held back a lot in this movie. And if I had to speculate, there's a lot of talks that Kathleen Kennedy kind of had her fingers intertwined with the idea of not doing a fourth season of Mandalorian and then trying to convert it into a movie because Star Wars was at such a delicate point where, after the sequel trilogy, they kind of went into all these Disney Plus series, and some of them were doing well and some of them not so well, and they hadn't been on the big screen for I think it's been 7 years now since 2019 when the last pre sequel film came out, and I just unfortunately I think some of the decisions were made for the wrong reasons. I still have a lot of faith in Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau because these guys understand Star Wars. These guys know how to make Star Wars. I think they need some time to create, to consolidate, to get full reign of what they're doing. And I think a lot of these projects going forward are going to reflect that and going to build on that. But I really think this movie was more for the casual fans. People that maybe haven't followed the Mandalorian series, or again are not diehard fans, so maybe don't remember everything that happened in those series or is not closely watching it. And then I think some of the young fans, people who are still getting into Star Wars, this is something that parents can take their children to and kind of give them a love of Star Wars that we all have and help build the next generation of fans. And unfortunately, I think that just kind of hurts the current group of fans because we wanted more, we expect more, we wanted some more interweaving plot lines, we wanted to build to something greater, and it really wasn't that. It was an adventure movie. It was following Mando and Grogu through this story, on this adventure of fighting the Empire and then getting involved in some other things, and then how it kind of all came together. That being said, I still think it was well written. I think you know the work that everybody put into the project was really good. Again, the setting, the characters, the functionality of Grogu now and how he's developed. Um, seeing some of these legacy characters come to live action, I truly enjoyed it. It was fun. I'm still trying to gather my thoughts around it though, because again, I go in with I had expectations of what to expect, but deep down I was hoping for more. I was hoping to be surprised a little bit. I was hoping to um there would be something there that I wasn't expecting, and it really didn't. I didn't really feel surprised. There wasn't anything that caught me off guard that I wasn't expecting. Strangely enough, I think the first hour of the movie or so was almost a lot of things that they've shown in the trailers and the marketing tools for the movie, which I think also devalues the movie as well, in my opinion. Like, everything I'm seeing in the first hour of the movie has already been kind of preluded or pre-shown. Um, you know, that's nearly half of the movie right there. So, the second half was more stuff that hadn't been marketed or shown to the public prior to the screening. But again, you have the name Mandu and Grogu. We should be showing little tidbits here and there, but I felt like the first half of the movie, it was all things I had already seen going into it, which again kind of upset me too, because not upset me, but also again never gave me that X factor, never gave me that thing that I wasn't expecting or hadn't seen before. And that's kind of what I was hoping for. I was hoping for a surprise ending, or maybe notes at a new a new thread, a new character. Maybe um, whispers of Thrawn. For those that have seen Ahsoka, obviously Thrawn comes back. But again, it was really just focused on Mando and Grogu and this adventure that they go on together, along with some of the characters that are in along for the ride. But I still enjoyed it. It was entertaining. I just I hope this is just the first step in many steps to get Star Wars back on the map, to get Star Wars to back to what George Lucas had truly created, what fans of the original series fell in love with, fans of the prequel series fell in love with, the Clone Wars, Bad Batch, Rogue One, Andor, getting us back to that point. And we've had little glimpses here and there, but I think we've also taken a lot of steps back. And I really do have a lot of faith in Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. I don't think this movie was a bad movie. I don't think it was a great movie. But that being said, this was a movie that predated before they've been given full control of Star Wars. And I expect them to really take it and run with it and do great things. I kind of sit back and look at this. This I feel like is almost a movie like if the Avengers, if Marvel was just doing the Avengers, this is like the first movie that comes out, the Iron Man one or the Captain America one, that follows through them. And I think at the end of those movies, they sort of hint at future plot lines where this one did not. But again, I think this is kind of the first step before we start building to that point. And I'm excited to get there. I'm as a true fan, a hardcore fan of Star Wars. I'm excited to see. I'm excited for the future because I think there is a bright future here, and I'm excited for the future projects. And I have a lot of trust and faith in what these gentlemen are going to do, and I hope they continue to do so. And I look forward to getting there. I really do. So if you're thinking about seeing it, if you not sure, I recommend it. It was a good movie. Or it was a fun movie. I enjoyed the experience. Um, I also think it's fair to have an idea of what you're expecting going into it. But this will be the first step. This will be the first movie in many movies that is only going to build to a point where we can all really come together and appreciate Star Wars for what it truly is. Thank you all for listening to my video. Thank you for your time. I hope you all have a great day and enjoy the movie and please share your thoughts. I love the feedback.